Hey guys, and welcome back to another one of these Film Review Fridays. We do this every single Friday, guys, so if you're not subscribed yet, go down there, hit that subscribe button. We are currently here at Live Cinema in Nandi, who have been nice enough and kind enough to allow us to actually film here straight after the movie. Today's review is going to be about the film Alone. Last week we did Greenland, which was a very action-packed, end of the world scenario. This week, completely different. Completely different style movie.
Do you live nearby?
No, not really.
Where are you going?
Alone is all about a woman who's just basically separated from her husband, which I'm not going to tell you the reason for because it kind of comes in later. She's moving from where she was to another place, so she's got the U-Haul. We start out at her place where I'm not too sure where it is. There's no real kind of backstory as such in this movie. You kind of like find small parts out along the way, so I don't really know what I can say and what I can't say without kind of spoiling it for you. But basically it's point A to point B, but she has to go through the woods. She has to drive through the woods by herself with her U-Haul on the back. And along the way, obviously she comes in contact with an absolutely phenomenally acted psychopathic killer who stalks her, kidnaps her, and the whole story is about her escape, or it could actually be about the hunting rather than the escape. It depends on how you see this film. It could be about actually him hunting her down, or it could be about how she is escaping. It depends on how you want to vision this.
911, what's your emergency?
I think I'm being followed.
I know you're close.
In regards to the plot of this film, I'm not usually the biggest scary horror movie flick kind of guy. I'm more of the guy who wants to go and watch your actions. I want to go and watch your rom-coms. I love everything. I don't necessarily usually like the horror franchises or just the horror movies. Even when they're small budget, I actually think that small budget is usually better in regards to scary movies because they're able to do a lot more realism. There's a lot more realism involved. I think the plot needed more. I wasn't really able to connect with the character as such, simply because we didn't get too much of a backstory and we kind of got it like drips and drabs throughout the movie. And although you still want her to succeed, I don't think you really care too much, whether obviously because you're a human, you want to see the human get out of the situation and you want to see the human be okay. But in regards to the actual person, I wasn't able to actually connect with the actual person. And this isn't because of the acting, this is because of the plot. This is because the fact that we weren't able to get enough backstory, and it's quite a quiet movie. There's not really, because it's alone, so she's by herself and she's trying to get from point A to B. So the only two real characters here are the protagonist, the antagonist. There's no one really else. There is another person, a guy that comes in later on and stuff like that. Like your typical kind of horror movie where someone comes to save, and it's pretty self-explanatory. There's not much difference here. There's not much difference here in the plot. I just feel like there wasn't enough to really get you there. There was suspense and there was at times really great moments of the film. However, it just didn't connect with you enough. And that's the main part here. Obviously, films are all about connecting with you, giving you the perspective and making you understand how the protagonist is feeling in that situation. You're meant to feel the same thing, and I never really felt the same thing. There were times, but that was because of the phenomenal acting, in my opinion. I thought the acting was brilliant.
Please, let me go.
Do you think you're the first one to say that?
I feel like this movie is seriously pulled along and driven by the acting of Mark Menchaca. I'm not too sure if that's how you pronounce his name, but he's an absolutely phenomenal actor, and in this film, he really drives it because he is a psychopathic killer, and you really believe that he's a psychopathic killer. There's nothing to say this is a good guy. There's nothing to say yes, you may feel somewhat empathetic some points, really, but not really. It's just he does an amazing job of making you feel like he is a terrifying man, but you don't really know any of his backstory besides the fact that he does have a wife and a child that obviously doesn't know about his second lifestyle. He did an absolutely fantastic job. Now, in regards to Jules Wilcox, she did a pretty decent job too. I did, like I said, I didn't connect with the character, so I guess, did she do her job right? But I think she did pretty fine. I think she did pretty damn well decently, considering that she had no backstory to help out her character, and she really needed to pull the film on the good side of the film. She needed to pull it based on her acting skills. So I thought that was quite decent.
It's all in the eyes. People think they can hide it, but they can't. Not from me.
In regards to how this movie makes you feel, obviously there is a lot of suspense involved. I thought it was quite boring-ish for the first 20-25 minutes, but then it really started to ramp up in parts. You know, I really felt there was a lot of suspense. Sometimes the suspense didn't even have any kind of climax to it, which I found quite confusing. There was a lot of moments where you were like, okay, something's building, and then nothing built from it. And that was a little bit disappointing for me, because I was just expecting like either a jump scare or something to happen. But this movie doesn't really, it's not really too much of a horror. It's more of a hunting suspense. And I just didn't see enough kind of action to climax that suspense, which is what usually suspense is there for. You know, you're meant to come up to a point and then boom, you know, something happens. I thought the scenery was fantastic, and I think that the way this movie was filmed is really good to kind of have a perspective about. It's great. Well, for me, it's crazy how films can make you feel so differently about such beauty. You know, with this film, there was some amazing shots in the forest, even with the rain, you know, darkness, the beautiful morning in the forest. You know, there was some incredible scenery that you don't get to fully appreciate because of how well, I guess, the editing was done in regards to the color scheme, in regards to, I don't even think the music was fantastic in this film, but I just feel like it really, the way that it was edited was quite sound in the fact that it made you feel dread the whole time.
You hear me? I am coming for you.
And if I'm going to take anything out of this film, it's going to be patience. You know, patience is probably the key thing, the key motivating factor behind the scenes of this film. Without going into too much detail, there's a really key moment in the film where they're both in the forest at night. She's hiding and he's trying to find her, obviously. And in the moment, she basically has a choice based on the situation. She has a choice whether to act on impatience or be patient and try and move past what he is obviously deliberately doing to try and force the situation in his favor. I'm not going to say what actually happens, whether she was impatient or whether she was patient, but the point of the matter is that throughout this film there is a lot of moments where you have to realize patience and you have to understand the situation. But alright guys, what are we going to rate it? What is BKR's review for Alone? I am unfortunately going to be giving it a 2-star. I think really, if it wasn't for how good the actors' performances are, I really wouldn't have rated it even a 2-star. I think the actors' performances specifically on their own deserve probably a 3 to 4 star. However, the movie itself, the plot just doesn't get there. And like I said, the plot just does not really make you feel too much for the character based on the lack of understanding of the character. It's not really scary, but it's not really scary. It's not a scary movie. It's not at all. It's just a full-on suspense movie. So, you know, it's a good one to take your girlfriend to that you don't really care about. You just want to kind of hook up. But now guys, that is going to do us for today's video. I do appreciate it as always. Please go down there and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And obviously hit that thumbs up button as well so I know that you're enjoying this content. Film reviews come out every Friday. I'm actually going to be bringing out a what to watch on Netflix every Tuesday as well, because it's great to have the cinemas. The cinemas are fantastic, but there's also, you know, some people right now, the cinemas aren't even open, and there's also Netflix, which is quite a big thing to want to know all the different movies that are there that not everyone gets to see. So we're going to do that every single Tuesday. Also, just before we go, if there is a specific movie that you would like me to review, let me know in the comments section below, and we'll see what we can do. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.